Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show. I want you all to know that you all actually interrupted a great conversation that myself and Maggie were having. We were having a great conversation. I'm like, oh man, we got to go live here. So welcome, welcome to the show, Maggie, the substitute teacher. You are muted again. Let me unmute you here. I don't know if that's
Thank
me you're doing that.
you. I muted myself. I didn't want to. I
Okay,
was dancing to your background music. So
it is
good
pretty hot. Yeah, it is
evening.
pretty
Yeah. Hi,
hot.
everybody.
Yes. Welcome to the show. Let me greet some people here. Rhonda is in the building. She is my pit bull there. She always tells people to make sure that they hit the like button on their way in. Thank you so much for that, Rhonda. All for one BM. Looking forward to this. Beautifully said. Hello to you. Let's see. Uh, Rhonda is offering you a warm welcome. Let's see. Beautifully said again is welcoming. High Vibe is welcoming as well. Hello. And let's see. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. Most importantly, you all make sure you hit the like button wherever you're watching this at. This is being streamed on both of our platforms and on her Facebook page as well. So make
Yes.
sure that you all hit the like button on your way in. Thank you guys so much for this. And welcome to the show. Welcome to the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I have played a number of your clips there, and so I don't know. I try to reach out to people. A lot of times, I get people on the back end, right? So I see them on other people's platforms. I'm like, how do you guys get them? I reach out to people. So I don't know. You probably didn't see it. I'm sure that your DMs are flooded or something like that. But I had reached out before. But it's okay. You're here
Oh,
now.
did
I
you? I'm
appreciate
so
it.
sorry. Sometimes, it goes into message requests and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
me.
yeah,
I try to manage everything, but
yeah.
sorry. I guess better late than never.
Yeah, no, definitely better late than never. Definitely, I definitely understand that. Sometimes I see people's requests from like weeks ago. I'm like, oh, I didn't see
Right.
that you tried to send me something. So it's all
Right.
good. It's all good. What's up, AJC? He is coming on the show in a couple weeks. There, AJC is coming on. I appreciate that. All right, so let's dig into it a little bit here.
Right.
Maggie, the substitute teacher, thank you so much once again. Tell us or tell my audience, anyone who doesn't know who you are, a little bit about yourself.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So, hi, everybody. I'm Maggie. My name is Margaret, but Maggie is my childhood nickname. And I always say I'm just a mom on the internet. To me, that's the most important thing that I do. Two boys, 18 and 16, with my ex husband. Let's see. Oh, where to begin? I was originally born in Ghana in West Africa, so I am an immigrant. We came to America when I was one, but I was raised here. Traditional nuclear family, traditional as we can, African values. My mom and dad, pardon me, mom and dad have been married over 50 years. I just turned 50 last year. And, just did the traditional upbringing, school, college, started working. As far as the relationship space, which most people are interested in, I married my college sweetheart. And I was married for 10 years. Absolutely loved being married, loved being a wife, having a home. But I always say, I think being in the modern world, maybe corporate America, maybe college, women are equal, we can do everything. I remember being that strong headed young woman. And unfortunately for me, I learned a hard lesson. The marriage did end in divorce. And then I was able to come back to someone from my childhood who kind of sat me down and told me, hey, if we're going to do this thing, this is how it has to be. And it was a shock for me to kind of have someone, tell it straight like that. But I loved it. And I started the cooking channel because, like a lot of people, I struggle with weight. And through a cooking collab, I was able to go on another platform and said a few things about relationships from my own experience, went viral, and the rest is history.
Mm. Well, you continue to make history. Thank you so much for that. I
Oh,
definitely, maybe at the end of the show, we'll get into the cooking thing because
okay.
I think I'm quite the cook, but some people tell me I'm not. So I don't know. My
I
family
love
seems to
that.
think I am, but
It's so
and I think that
subjective.
I am.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm good
um,
at all. I just enjoy it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm trying to eat much healthier due to
Yeah.
some, concerns that I had. So
Mhm.
we can definitely chop it up about that. So you talked about I was taking some notes as you were talking So you enjoyed being married. You enjoy being married. That seems to be a bad word these days, right? Bad phrase.
I don't know for who. I think marriage is a wonderful institution. I loved being married. Hopefully, I'll marry again. I've been in a long term since the divorce, going on 15 years now. We talked a little bit about that. And that's because my man, I call him affectionately Mr. President, he sat me down and he said, one of his conditions is he didn't want a blended family. And so, had to finish what I started, raise the kids, and then, hopefully very soon we'll have our turn. But I'm very happily average is what I say. But yeah, I love being a wife and creating a warm and welcoming home and taking care of others. I just love being a woman. And that's one of the benefits that I think we can make things better. I always tell my students, as women, our femininity, we can turn ingredients into a meal. We can turn a house into a home. We can turn, a kid's 5-year-old birthday party into something magical. So I really lean into that. And yeah, I absolutely love it and promote it.
Very good, very good. Thank you
Mhm.
for that. Let me get to Rhonda's comment here. We have well over 30 people watching, almost to 40, and let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up. We had 8 likes last count, so let's get the likes up. So um, I asked you about, you enjoyed being married. You gave us a really good answer about your own personal experiences.
Mhm.
But what's happened? What do you think has happened in recent times where people don't enjoy being married and people don't want to be married? What do you think has happened?
You know, it's funny that you ask that, and I will acknowledge that there are some things in society that are changing. However, social media is not the real world. I think when you step away from the arguing and the shouting back and forth, even some of these panels, if you look at your own life and community and neighborhood, we still have marriage and families and kids going to sports, and all of that is still really happening. However, I think because dating has changed, I think it trickles down into marriage and relationships. So if you ask what has happened, so many things. I mean, it's easy to say, feminism. I mean, we all live in the modern world. However, I do think, and I only speak from my own lived experience because I'm not an expert in this area, but I think as women, the comfort that we have in this modern world that is
Mhm.
safe with all of the technology that we have, and we don't know famine and war and the things that were real not too long ago, we've gotten very comfortable in thinking that we need to overcorrect some of the things that may have held us back in the past. Now we have all of the rights. We can do anything we want to do, good or bad. But I think this push for equality, and you always hear me say, we're not equal, we're equally valued, but we're very different. Um, it starts, gosh, we have broken homes, we have schools that have now become kind of indoctrination centers, higher education, women entering the workforce. That's great if you want to work, if you need to work, but looking at that like you're going to compete as a man with a man, I just think it has we have lost focus on what really matters, which to me, when you take all of that away, um, the marriage, the family, the legacy that we create is what's really important. And I think we're just at each other in so many ways now that it's just broken down. And I think it will get better, but I think it's going to get worse before it gets better,
Wow.
unfortunately. Yeah.
We'll come back to that. Let me write that down. We'll get better. I want to come back to that. So you said that you were at one time strong-headed. I can't imagine you ever being strong-headed.
I know, I know. I'm still the same Maggie. If you've ever watched my cooking content, I'm an extrovert. Everybody knows that about me. I got a lot of personality. I love life. I have a lot of zest for life. However, and I have to say a big part of that is Mr. President, and I've shared this before. Um, Even though I'm ambitious and accomplished and all of that, he sat me down on the second date and he said, "Look, these are my goals. These are my plans." He was on an executive track to be one of the Black VPs in Atlanta. He's now surpassed that. And I remember in that conversation, he's telling me what he was going to do, irrespective of me. And
Mhm.
I thought at the moment, okay, do I want to be a part of his world? I've already had one failed marriage. I don't ever want to make that mistake again. So, what do I need to do to get on the program? And so, without telling him, I enrolled myself in finishing school and some of the other refinement things that I teach now. And I got some feedback about my gestures, feedback about my mannerisms, feedback about my speech. Life holds up a mirror to all of us. It's just up to us if we want to decide to take the feedback or say, nothing's wrong with me, or really improve, because I think we can all improve. And a masculine man requires a feminine woman, full stop. So that was not negotiable. So that's part of my story.
Well, it's great that you were able to recognize that.
Mhm,
There's so many ways I want to kind of unpack that.
mhm.
Should a woman get in line in this modern time? Because we talked about the changing landscape, the comfort of the outside world, if you will. Uh, what you just said may be repulsive to some ladies, that you should get on a man's schedule, that you should, go to finishing school in order to work on yourself. What would you
With
say to them?
respect, a correction. I didn't say anybody should. I said what I did because
Okay,
I
okay,
wanted this outcome. I know
okay.
a lot of women, the panel I was just on, they run off howling into the night if you tell them there's anything wrong with them. That's fine, and your life will reflect the choices that you've made. I was thinking about where I wanna be at 50 in my 30s, and so I took those steps there. And the other thing that, especially now as an older woman, I think a lot of women are short-sighted about what life is gonna feel like when you're in your 40s and when you're in your 50s. I see myself in a lot of these headstrong younger women. You got all that energy to go 12 rounds with somebody. You got all these opinions, and you don't mind, going in early and staying late. But don't believe me, look at the women around you in your family or in your community. What 40 and 50-year-old women are still going just as hard
Mhm.
as they were in their 20s? And I was already starting to feel it in my 30s, and I knew it was only going to get more pronounced. And so I think that's one of the things in my upbringing that was an advantage to me that I didn't realize then: delayed gratification. When you have parents that are immigrants and you see how they work and you see how nothing is given to them as it shouldn't be. You come to this country, we are the ones who are to assimilate and be an asset, not take from the system. And so it took them longer to work and go to school, paying out of state tuition, which is 3 times as much, and everything that they had to do. So that was the example that I had. And I'm so grateful for that, because when I did get a little unruly, I was able to rely on the foundation that I had. Now, women can do whatever they want. That's part of the benefit, I guess, of being in the modern world. You will never have a man that you respect if you aren't able to get your behavior in line. You will continue to mess up and you will just be perpetually single. And that's okay too, if that's what you want. That's just not what I want.
That last point was very much on point, that ladies will never get a good man, because of their attitude. That's essentially what you said. Is that correct?
Not really. I said a
Okay.
masculine man.
Okay. Masculine
There,
man.
there are good men, but I don't feel like I have a place to speak for men or speak to men. I will just know there's a whole spectrum of men, and some will tolerate more than others. I know what I have. He let me know very clearly from the beginning what was okay and what was not, and left it up to me to decide.
Mhm.
There are women that have good men that put up with a lot more than mine will. We were talking before the show, even doing this collab. Anybody who reaches out to me, I run it by Mr. President. And like I told you, because I would never want him to see me on the internet and he's blindsided. I didn't know you were working with that person. People are going to clip it up and make reactions to that, and that's fine. But I think I'll just give you some examples. There are men that let their women go places, do whatever they want to, stay out late, wear whatever they want to, um, talk crazy, spend money. That may work in your relationship. I just know that's not gonna fly with the caliber of men that I think most women ultimately want.
Well, I mean, that's you're being very you're being
Diplomatic,
you're being very diplomatic about it.
it's
But I think
intense.
that but I think but I agree with you. I think that a lot of women really want some type of strong masculine man, and
Mhm.
we can, not you and I, but there can be a debate about whether how far that goes and whether they want that, or what that means to them. But I certainly would say that is a desire. Anita, you were just on her show, for Better Love Movement, talks about a lot of these ladies are feral, which I think is such a great term.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard
and
that.
so they just seem to be uncontrolled.
Yes, and what we have to understand is you don't wake up like this, like somebody will try to tell you. That type of behavior, you see it in children. When you see a child having a full on tantrum in a store or at a restaurant, you know that's not the first time.
Mm,
They've
mhm,
gotten away with that, and so women that are behaving badly, no one has corrected them. Or, if someone's tried, they've either broken off the relationship, "I can do bad all by myself," and that's fine, but then these are the same, not really fine, but that's okay in the moment maybe, but then those are the same women who complain that men don't approach, "Where are all the good men?" All the things that you complain about, and we don't realize sometimes that most of the time it's what we do that either attracts people to us or repels people from us. And I have heard that. Lucy and I, who work together in the finishing school, she says, yeah, women behave like feral cats. Now, I, at my core, ultimately want to help. And so I like to shine a light on the positive. That's just my approach. But I do agree we need to call out bad behavior. And I know, not all, not all, not all. But I think whether it's media or programming or a conspiracy or whatever you believe, it's not an accident. I
mm,
think women are imitating something that they think is gonna work, and then they get to the end of that and they realize, "This didn't help me at all."
mm, mm.
Mhm.
That's very well said.
Mm.
What is there's a question here that I really want to get to, but let me ask this question first. What is, in your definition, a good man and versus a masculine man? What is a good man to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna answer your question, but I just wanted to correct you with what I said, having a masculine man versus a good man. I think a good man is a man who is a leader, a man who has accomplished what he wants to, a man who can take care of himself, a man who is an example, a man who is respected, a man who is admired. I have so many good things to say about men. The type of men that, as moms, we want our sons to become. I think a masculine man, or my experience with a masculine man, there is all of that plus a lot more discipline, a lot more structure, unapologetically, I don't want to say the word demanding, but they have expectations and there's a clear line of what they will do, not do, accept, and not accept. But I think that allows for our femininity to flourish. I don't believe in this, we're interchangeable and we're just people, or I'll say it, the they, them pronouns. No, when they say men suit up and women and children to safety, I'm crystal clear which one I'm going to, and I want my man to be crystal clear that he's going to, fend off the enemy at the gate while we take the weak ones to safety. So I just think a little bit more structure and expectations from a masculine man.
Okay, so the men who don't possess those particular qualities, can they be good?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness, absolutely. Not every man is you may hear it said alpha or extremely masculine. They have some men that may be more. I don't want to use the word sensitive, but there may be men that are a little bit slower to respond. My man is very, how do you say, decisive. You ask him a direct question, you're getting a direct answer. There may
Mm,
be men that may want to have a little bit more conversation about that. Mr. President's not doing that. He's very, how do you say, consistent. He wears the same thing, he eats the same thing, he goes to the same places. You know, some women may look at that and say, "Oh, that's boring." I look
mm.
at that as a security blanket. There may be some men that may be a little bit more adventurous or open to try things that mine is like, "We're not doing that." And so,
Mhm.
you know, there's different for everybody, and both can absolutely be good.
Yeah, I just got criticized for being that type of guy. I watch the same movies, I wear the same thing. I've always got a hoodie on. I definitely can understand, and I
Yeah,
like it. I like me.
absolutely, and that's all that matters, and you find a woman that'll work with you, and anybody else's opinion is just that, it's just their opinion.
Right, right, right.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to get to this question here by Tanaj J. Williams. It says, "What advice would you give a 19-year-old woman that wants to be married but is attending college?"
Oh, I love that. Hello, Tanaj. I love that, and I love that I'm seeing that with our younger women are now, um, looking at maybe their older sisters or aunties or mothers and saying, "I don't want any parts of that." So I think that's wonderful that you're thinking about it now. Like I said, I had a steady boyfriend at 18 and I married him after college, so you are not too young. And the late great Kevin Samuel said this, the years that we are in, you know, I'll say like later high school, college, or those first few jobs after college, those are going to be the highest opportunity just by the proximity of people that you're going to be around, that you're going to meet somebody that you would consider husband material. And I've said this before, once we start to get in our late 20s and 30s, unless you're trying to do hot girl summer that turns into a hot girl decade, which I would not recommend, the repetitive, like go to work, come home, go to work, come home, it's harder to be social. So if you're 19 and in college, I'm going to approach it from two ways. What you need to do as far as college and then socially. As far as college, I really want, you know, not just Tanaj, but all of our young women, especially, to think about these degrees that you're getting and do you actually want to do that work? So many
Mhm.
women get sunk in debt or go get a degree and then figure out I hate medicine or I hate social work or I hate nursing or whatever it is. I work, but I work
Law
in
school.
law
Law
school,
school.
right? Because your potential husband is going to be asking, well, what'd you do all that for? What'd you spend all that time for? What'd you spend all that money for? Make sure if you want to be a wife, you are building a life where wifehood is going to be the priority. So you're not going to take the type of job where you're traveling all the time in sales or you're, you know, in the courtroom late early mornings and late nights and you're, you know, scrambling behind the kids. Ask me how I know. So make sure that you are doing the type of studies that are going to keep a relationship first and foremost. Pardon me. Then, when it comes to the social aspect, one of the things that our competition does a lot better than we do in our community is pointing their young women towards the men that are going to be something. You know, all of us know, even in those young years, which young men are serious. Maybe they haven't achieved it yet. But like I said, Mr. President sat me down and told me these are my 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year goals. And I was just sitting there like, I'm just happy to be here, you know? So when you find somebody that you like him and he likes you and he's got a life goal, he may not have it all figured out yet because you're both young. If you're going to date somebody that's a peer, but I say exclusively date, and this is for all young ladies, exclusively date men that you could see as husband material. Anybody else is just a waste of time. Don't do
Mhm.
it. I don't care. It's just going to ruin you. Depending on if she wants to get married sooner than later, be open to with your parents' support, considering somebody, you know, 5 to 7 years older. My ex husband was 7 years older than me. I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you both have the same goal in mind and he's not wasting your time and you're not wasting your own time. But I don't think, coming from a small town, we got married right out of college, right after high school, early 20s. I was married at 25 and I felt like I beat the buzzer. So long-winded answer, but those are my thoughts. I love the questions.
Listen, you're definitely cooking here. Somebody
Thank
wrote that, and I had to put that on here. I wanted to. You've been saying so much. I had to take these notes. You
you.
just
Mm,
said something that was very powerful. You said, when women, in particular, date men who are not going somewhere in life, that it will ruin them.
mhm.
Unpack that a little bit more for these young ladies.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I have to lay the groundwork. I don't have a lot of dating experience. I've had two relationships, a 10-year marriage, and then a long term. But what I see sometimes when women like to date the fun boys, the fast boys, the troubled boys, the whatever you want to call it hurts us in two ways. First, it wastes time that we don't have to waste because our early 20s, mid 20s, that's really your prime years to get the best outcome that you're going to want when you're my age. It's so much harder to kick the can for a decade or 2 decades and then show up 35, 45, 50 talking about, I'm ready to be a wife. Nobody's believing it. You're wasting time. And then the obvious is that sometimes the men that don't have their life together could treat you great. Oftentimes, it's a bad dating experience. But for me, what lies underneath the surface that a lot of women don't realize is you are an ill prepared when you meet that real one.
Mm,
All of us are going to meet that real one. And I've always said for me, the purpose of dating is to determine if this is a suitable match for marriage or long term. Now, I know if you're in college and you're hanging out with friends or high school and you're hanging out with friends, that's one thing. But for a 19-year-old who says she wants to be married, do you want to be a wife? What does that mean? And why do you want to be a wife? There is nothing that casual dating is going to do to prepare you to be a wife. You learn how to be in relationships by being in relationships. So women who date somebody and they're like, yeah, we know this isn't going anywhere, or he comes over at night, or I've heard girlfriends said, yeah, you'll never see me out with him. Those kind
mm,
of experiences, because relationship is a skill, you are not flexing that muscle, talk about exercise and eating right. So those muscles, those relationship muscles are going to atrophy. And then what happens when you see the man that you're like, or when he finds you and he starts asking questions and you don't know how to communicate, you don't know how to work with his schedule, you don't know how to anticipate his needs, you don't know how to be nurturing, you don't know how to see what little rocks you can take off of his plate. It's just been fun. You just been flued out. You just been bought bags and all this stuff that you're looking at and it's collecting dust and you're useless to the man that you're ultimately going to want. So that's my biggest concern when women have too much fun. If you have no intentions of getting married and having a family, I guess you can do whatever you want to do. But if you ever want to be taken seriously, do not waste time. You do not have time to waste, especially now.
mm. That was very, very well said.
Thank you.
Um, so you talked about, I want to get to this idea that you talked about a little bit before, this social push, where you talked about ladies have not been pushed towards motherhood relationships. And this goes into a question about individuals and son husband problem. Um, yeah, the son husband problem, women not being pushed into relationships or to motherhood. You said that a little bit earlier, but just talk about this problem about son husbands, men not growing up, or growing up in environments that are completely female dominated, and therefore they don't know how to be that masculine man that you are looking for, and that other, I would assume, that you want your sons to be, and other ladies are looking for.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most tragic things that we see now. The son husband is when, I'll say it, a mother doesn't have a man of her own. Maybe she wasn't married, or who knows how we got here, but she is putting an undue burden on her son to fill a void that he was never intended to fill. Our job as parents is to prepare our children for their life, not for them to be a crutch for us to never fly the nest, to never leave me home, to never leave me alone. That's just completely out of order. Um, for me, the biggest thing is I can't raise a man. And I'm a boy mom times two. I can't raise a man. No woman can raise a man. Ladies, we have to let the men raise the men. And we have to be open to listening and accepting the fact that the way men talk to other men, the way men correct other boys, there's some things we don't need to see, we don't need to know, we just need to respect it. I remember when the boys were little and I would take them to the barber shop. And I used to go in with them, when they got older, you could just drop them off. And, when it's time for them to get in a chair, they start fussing, "Oh, hey, hey, hey," like immediately all the men in the barbershop would get them in line. Now, if I were one of those women, don't talk to my kid like that, then those are the things that you do that men are just like, okay, you got it. But I loved that. I loved allowing men, even my ex-husband, when he would come over, we co-parent really, really well. When he would come over to pick up the boys, we would have a family meeting and he'd say, okay, I'm planning this for the boys. How have they been behaving? Or let's say I needed my air filters changed or whatever. He'll say, Alex, go get that ladder. Come with me. What are we doing, Dad? I'll show you. Come with me in my house. Now I can say, no, don't make him, change a light bulb or change the air filter, but we have to know, I'll say it, we have to know our place. And I do believe the older women teach the younger women and the older men teach the younger men. If you don't allow that, there's a very limited window in those formative years where you will cripple your son. And I learned this not the hard way, but it's not by accident that our oldest is a Marine. And it was very hard for me to let that death grip go off of the steering wheel. But again, thinking about, okay, 10, 15 years from now, if he's at home sitting on the couch playing video games, doing nothing while I'm going to work or whatever, and I just cannot believe what he's become, what am I doing right now that will either prevent that or permit that? So
Mm.
those are my thoughts.
No, those are good thoughts. Thank you for those.
You're welcome.
So you do femininity coaching. Talk to us talk to us a little bit about that, how you got into that. And I want to know, do you get any pushback? But start off with how you got into it.
Yes and no. So everything that I do, and I mean everything, that's why I still say I just have a cooking channel. I don't know why anything I say goes viral. To me, and I genuinely mean this, everything that I say is just common sense, but it's how we were raised a generation ago. So I already shared the story about when I reconnected with Mr. President, he sat me down and let me know what it was. And I remember when he said he was going on this executive track, I remember thinking, okay, he's going to be around those people. He's going to be around those kind of women. He's going to be in those circles. And I know I have a silly side and I have a lot of sometimes you need to take Maggie in small doses. I get that. But I also know that's not appropriate all the time. Just because I think something doesn't mean I need to say it. I don't have to be the smartest person in the room, the know it all. And I just have so much respect and admiration for him that I never wanted to do anything that would embarrass him or me. And so when I started improving my own behavior, I think it's only natural people start asking, what did you do? How did you learn? I remember specifically, I was doing a cooking show, and I remember I went to get a glass of something to drink, and it was a stemmed glass. And I was like, ladies, remember when you hold your wine glass, hold it from the stem to take an elegant sip. And then I went back to the recipe, and I think I said something like, I learned that in finishing school. And people in the chat were like, that's a thing. Tell us more about this. And so, long-winded version of people asked, okay, do you do coaching? Do you have classes? Well, I do now, but it was just in a response to people asking. Now, excuse me, you asked if I get any pushback. And the yes and no, I know there are people who think some of those social graces are antiquated. I have heard people say it don't take all that. That's fine. You can move like a dude if you want to. I mean, it's a free country. Nobody's stopping you. The people who come to me for any type of coaching or classes, I try to live by example so they know who I am and what I'm about. And I have no problem saying the mistakes that I've made. So I don't get pushback from my students, but there's people out there with opinions, and I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay. Um, is femininity a mindset, or is it just
Absolutely.
the way that people dress and
Oh,
act?
no. You could put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. I'll tell you like Mr. President, I can hang a sign around a dog that says, "Cat, is it a cat?" Simple Southern man. But, no, femininity is 100% a mindset because I can be feminine and be in athleisure wear. I mean, there are some things you're not gonna do that are masculine. I'm not gonna run out in front and, try to, stop anything unless, it's a child. But femininity is 100% a mindset. And one of the best compliments that I got from one of my students, she said, she thought like the femininity was just wear dresses, wear pearls, lower your voice. But when you realize, like my teacher told me, it's really about the essence of a woman, and you don't know she's English. She's like, Margaret, you never know a lady's strength. A lady's strength is like a tea bag. You never know her strength until it's in hot water. But that means that I have to be in an environment where I could go off, or I could argue back, or I could be disrespectful, yet I choose not to. It is an immense amount of self control and believing that our femininity is our superpower, and I can get the outcome that I desire when people are curious about me and lean in, as opposed to, oh God, here she comes again. They see me coming, they hear me coming 1,000 miles away.
Unpack that a lot, because that's something we hear a lot, that femininity is a superpower. And I think that a lot of people on the other side would disagree with that. They would say that they need to move like men, act like men, and move like men, act like men, boss up like men, be at the front of the table, banging on the table just as hard as a man. Uh,
Oh my goodness, I've been in those meetings with those women in the boardroom. I mean, here's the thing, you can absolutely move like a man, you'll just be treated like one.
mm,
So if you're okay with that, go for it. Who am I to stop you? Femininity is a superpower to the men that we want. So for me, it starts with the respect that I have for my man, being a mother, I'm somebody's mother. I have parents that I admire and respect. And so we were just raised differently. You just didn't act any kind of way. But, the whole femininity is a superpower. It is a superpower. I'll give you two answers. It's a superpower to men because it's the one thing that they don't have. It is the one thing that it's almost like an enigma or something that there's like, I can't really put my finger on it, but when you walk into a space and people just kind of relax and feel calm, we all know what that feels like to go into your mother, grandmother, aunt, or a place where someone just makes you feel like, at peace. That's a wonderful gift that women have. But I would also say that women appreciate femininity too, because you know what it's like to go into a space or a home where there's a lady at the house and she greets you and there's a beautiful spread, or someone remembers a gift or remembers your favorite, something that you said, flower or color or whatever. All of those touches that bring people together is part of femininity. I believe that we are here to enhance relationships, and I like to leave people better than I found them. So I do. I think it's an amazing superpower, but it's a quiet strength. It's not in your face. That's masculine. I always tell my students you need to do less and be more.
mm. I like
Mhm.
that. Do less and be more. I
Mhm.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Um, can a woman in a power suit or on a construction site still have some, not on the construction site, but when she's not on the construction site, can she still be in her feminine energy when she goes home? That I
Oh,
think that's a lot of ladies are wrestling with that.
absolutely. And this is the hardest lesson that I had to learn. I've been an executive for big companies, big jobs. You can absolutely do both. It's just harder. If you have a very demanding job or stressful, corporate America is it's competitive, it's data driven. And one of the things that I tell our students is that if you do nothing, the modern world that we live in will just make you more masculine. Before you know it, you'll be louder than you want to be, harsher than you want to be, harder than you want to be. So we have to kind of overcorrect and put some things in place to enhance our softness. I have to remember the environment that I'm in, who I'm speaking to. Now, as I've aged, it's been better for me to change my environment. And by that, I mean the entertainment that I consume, the friends that I have or don't have, the places that I go or don't go. I don't intentionally keep hitting my head against a wall and then wondering why I have a bruise. But yes, you can absolutely. Now, there are some jobs, I know we have women in the military, we have women police officers, we have women attorneys and surgeons, and all of these jobs that are very stressful. I'm not saying you need to be at home and just bake cookies. Even though I like baking cookies, I still have a job that I do that can be, very technical, but I just have to remember the job is what I do. It's not who I am.
Mhm. Very good. I want to come back to that in a minute here, but I've been meaning to get to these. AJ with the $5 today's entrance fee. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Another $2. They call a man's boundaries controlling.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts about that when they call a man's boundaries controlling?
absolutely. I mean, here's the thing, ladies. Men build the life that they want for themselves and then find the woman to come join them in that life that they have built for themselves. Now, of course, you are going to tweak a few things to relate to each other, but you expecting a man to break down all of the structure and all of the discipline that got him to the point where you were attracted to him is foolish. Now, what I've learned in my older age, a lot of this control, it actually becomes a comfort. Like circling back to what we said, I don't collab with anybody that Mr. President hasn't approved. Now, I remember in the beginning when he asked me that, I was kind of like, my channel in my head. I didn't say that in my outside voice, right? I didn't say that. No, I don't do my neck. I don't snap. I don't do any of that. But I have these same thoughts. I think as modern women, it's normal and natural. And I would be lying if I said sometimes it doesn't bubble up in me. Like, does he know who I am? But then I'm like, okay, Maggie, I think about it could be another way. If he wasn't here, the house needs pressure washing or the car needs an oil change, all these things that just happen that I don't know anything about. Do I want to do that all on my own? So you're not going to have it your way, Burger King. All right. So you find the man that has a structure that you can work with, that has a program you can get on and get on his program, or let him find a woman that will. But to sit there and tell him he's controlling, it works for him. Believe me, he's making a lot of adjustments for you as well.
Yes, we are. Men are definitely making some adjustments there.
Yeah.
So, and I do appreciate you saying that the things that made the woman attractive to him, the life that he's built, he has to keep that up. And if you're going to argue with him, if I'm making YouTube videos or if I'm going to the gym at 5 a.m. or whatever I'm doing, that that gives me the discipline. You shouldn't ask me to not do that, or sleep in with me, or whatever. I go like to go for walks or runs or whatever it is a man wants to do. I think a lot of times that there is an attempt to interrupt that,
Yeah.
and
They think
that
we
can
can
lead to
change him.
frustration. Yeah, and
And then you resent it afterwards. It's just useless.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Let me see what other questions that I have here. Oh, we talked about the mature ladies, and uh, why is it, in your opinion, that they are not giving back, or is that in your opinion that a lot of mature ladies are refusing to talk to the ladies who are in their 20s or the teenagers and give and impart their wisdom down through the ages? What are your thoughts about that?
And they see them as competition, full
Mm,
stop. I
mhm,
think in order to be able to pay it forward or to help the younger generation, I'll just speak for myself. If I didn't have my relationship sorted, if I wasn't at a place where I was happy with my life now at 50, there's no way that I could or probably should be coaching other people unless it were don't make the mistakes that I made. I think, unfortunately, a lot of modern women in my age group aren't really happy with the life that they have for their own choices. And
Mm,
so there's some resentment there. And I think it's just human nature. When you see other people, I've heard women say, that should have been my husband. I should be living in that cul-de-sac. Just no. But were you willing to do what she was willing to do at 19 in college, forego hot girl summer or decade to actually hitch your wagon to someone that can give you something that will last? So, not all, but I don't know. There's this thing. It's just like, well, I figured it out, so you're on your own. I do think once we've been through life, we do owe it, especially to the community, to help others do better than us. Like, even as a mother, as a parent, you want your kids to do better than you, and so I want my young students to have a wonderful life and avoid some of the same mistakes. But yeah, unfortunately, we have older women who think, I know what it feels like on the inside to say, I still feel like sometimes, teenage Maggie, but I know I'm not. And we have to just admit that our ship has sailed and now it's
mm.
time for a different phase of life.
I saw a 77-year-old woman on Instagram or somewhere talk with the long raptor claws, 77 years old. There was another 7-year-old woman who was on one of those balloon pop shows, still talking about how tall a guy was. 70 years old, still talking about that.
I would laugh if it weren't true. I have had surprising messages as well.
I saw you talked about a lot of ladies who saw time passed them by,
Yeah.
and there was an Instagram post I saw the other day about Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
and this one woman had posted she saw her friend unwrapping gifts, and she said, she was thinking, this could have been me if I would have learned to keep my mouth shut.
Yep.
That was the caption. So
Yeah, we don't get to this point of life, especially as an older woman, and I think I shared this with you earlier. We get that feedback. It's just up to you if you want to listen and act on it. One of the things that used to frustrate me the most when I would talk to older women, I don't really very much anymore. I'm really focused on families because I think we're at the tipping point of a crisis if we don't turn this thing around. That's some other thoughts that I have. But one of the things that would frustrate me so much when I would try and coach a woman who's, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever it is, and they say, "You know what? Somebody else told me that, or my ex told me that, or you said that 5 times," or like they've heard it before. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'm supposed to be the seventh person. So life is giving you you see what I'm saying? Like life is giving all of us the message. I could have still been stubborn Maggie, and now at 50 trying to say, oh no, I'll listen now. Okay, no, I won't make decisions without running them by you. Okay, no, look over the finances or whatever, is required in my relationship. I could be saying that now, but it's just a much harder sell. And it's so much harder to correct that behavior when you've been so skilled at being bullheaded for so long. It's just not realistic that any of us can change.
mm, mm. That is definitely something. Um, let's talk about your show, your not your show, but Dr. Daft's show,
Yeah.
your guest appearance on there. That has been a lot. That's been the talk of the town there.
The gift that
I'm
keeps
sorry
giving.
I didn't clip anything. I was kind of busy all day, but I should have clipped something. But talk about your experience on that show.
Okay, so that was the second time that I've been on the Dr. Daff show, and I've watched Dr. Michelle Daff for a long time. She's actually also from Ghana. So like I said, I had that initial draw to her channel, and she started, like a young woman doing beauty content. And I started watching her, and she started talking about femininity and the Bible. And then I watched her get proposed to and get married and have her first baby and second baby. And so her content has changed as life has changed. And so She reached out to me via email, like, you and everybody else does, reached out to me. And she said she was doing a new show called The Bridge. This is actually the second time that I've been on the Dr. Dab show. So they brought me out to LA. I went last year, or I guess 2 years ago. And then the clip that's going viral, the show that's going viral now, we actually filmed it in December of last year. And the way she was doing this show, The Bridge, you've all seen the format. She's in the middle, she has topics, and then she has two opposing sides. There's lots of different opposing sides. And so she sent an email saying that they were doing a show, Feminists versus Anti-Feminists, and would you want to come out and do this show? I don't know who's going to be in the panel. I know that I'm not a feminist, so you basically pick a side, and then when we arrive and go to the green room, you're introducing yourself to people, and you can, for some of us, you can tell instantly, okay, I know what side that person's going to be on. And so
Well,
we
the pink hair will do it, but go ahead.
everybody is having, what's her name? It starts with a C, but yeah, everybody's having fun with our pink-haired friend. But we were in the studio in LA and we recorded for almost 2 hours, and it got pretty intense at times because people have strong opinions. I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm just too old for that. But again, I just speak from the heart and speak what's on my mind. And I don't know how it's going to land with people. The first clip that I had that went viral, I just said something that I think that is very common sense. And so I think it's more my approach and the way that I communicate that is disarming for people. So we had the show. I actually recorded 2 shows while we were there, flew back to Atlanta, put on my apron, started cooking. And we had the holidays, and I didn't forget about it, but it's like, oh yeah, we recorded that a couple months ago. And then they edited it and put it out there. And when I saw my face on the thumbnail, I was like, oh no, what did I say? I already forgot. Like, what did I say? And I watched it back and I was like, yeah, well, I did say that. But the reaction has just been very interesting. So if it helps people, I'm glad it helps.
Mm.
Yeah.
Was there anything that really stood out to you from the other side that was really kind of took you back?
There were a couple comments about trying to connect the feminist movement to civil rights. That didn't sit well with me. I thought I lost you for a second. There were
I
some very vulgar things that were said as far as what women can do with their bodies. That was edited out. But the women, some, not all, of the women on the opposing side were very, very liberated with, my body, my choice, have a high body count. I think one that did stay in, she said, oh, I just like to get freaky. For me, again, I'm always thinking about how is this going to land? I think about when we're all gone, and are you going to be remembered for this moment? Maybe you just want to be remembered for that moment, but I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's funny. Um, I think sometimes people do things or say things for an effect, but we have young, impressionable people, especially young women, who think, oh, that is the way to get what I want, to get flued out, to get used as whatever. And then they do that thinking it's going to get them a result. And then they're horrified that nobody really wants anything to do with them seriously after. So, there were a few things that I didn't care for, but I had a great experience. And Dr. Michelle is always so kind and gracious, and her team.
Mm. Very good, very good. Are you I don't know if you know this, or is there any studies that show that feminists in general, I know we can see some anecdotal videos that are made, but a lot of people regretting their divorces, regretting their choices that they made in life. Are you aware of any research about that?
No, and intentionally so. I have to say, I am not a scholar in this area. I do not consume a lot of feminist content. And I choose to stay away from it. I choose to not watch the news 24/7. I don't want to be uninformed, but I also don't want to speak on something that I'm not an expert. But when you ask about some of the changes that I make, a lot of what we consume, um, it affects us. But I have heard um, some women now really regret the lie that they were sold,
Mhm.
but I never really believed it all the way. There were some things, I was competitive. I wanted that promotion at work, but I also knew to get married young and have a family because my dad told me he was like, "It's going to be hard for you. You you need to you need to get yeah, you need to sit down somewhere because you're a lot." So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. I had the same conversation with my daughter.
Mhm.
So big tone online says this is what I'm talking about, Dr. L. I'm a mature, masculine gentleman living in the DMV. Please ask Miss Maggie where I can find a woman like her.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you for the compliment.
And
Um,
for the 4.99. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Go ahead.
yeah, this is hard. The truth is, I don't know, especially for mature men, because, well, men in general, the one hope that I give to young women is that life hasn't really had its way with them yet. But I would say for mature women, especially, 50 plus my age, I would look for a woman with a heart of service. I would look for a woman that um, still speaks of and thinks of marriage and relationships um, in a positive way. She lights up when you talk about love and relationship. Maybe she is divorced and has learned, what she did to get her to that point, and she wants to course correct that. Maybe unfortunately she's a widow. I would definitely, once we're in an older age, this is what I tell older women. You should have a network at this point. You've been spending 30 years doing something. So um, if I were unfortunately single, I wouldn't go on the dating apps or to the clubs or doing what the young people are doing. I would talk to the men that I admire and respect, or the couple friends that I have that are in good relationships or married, and let them know, I still have a lot of love to give, and I would love to find someone who uh, is in the second half of life that still, I'm trying to think of as a man. I'm not a man, but I would just connect with those people and ask them to make any introductions from people that are vetted. But to go just out into the wild, just meeting women randomly, probably wouldn't risk it because you just never know what you're going to get. So hopefully his network can help him. That's where I would go.
I think that's actually a very wise answer because
Thank you.
the wild is exactly that. It's wild. You never know what you're going to get. You can
Mhm.
approach someone at the wrong place at the wrong time. You don't know, even if you do it at a nice event like a church function or something like that, you can still get someone who's just not it.
Right.
And so they're really and that idea of having a network is really a good answer. I think. Um, I want to. This is a good point here. Inside Bria's kitchen.
Bria.
I like how Maggie is calculated with her thoughts. I strive to think before I speak as well. I want to get better at that. I too have been complimented about that. I'm always working on that. But you've built a brand and you're very careful and very diplomatic with your speech. That is a skill set. Is that something that you've had to work on?
Yes, and thank you for the compliment because that's probably one of the hardest things for me because on the inside, I'm pinging all over the place. Like I said, if you know me, I'm the same Maggie, and hello, Bria is one of my students. I love Bria. Yes, and I've told my students I used to be one of these women, and you may see this with women. You just kind of string words together and hope they land, and you're kind of thinking as you're speaking, if you're thinking at all. And especially when communicating with a man, I've learned that if a man asks a direct question, he expects a direct answer. Get to the point, and then if he asks for color commentary, add that if needed. But especially when you're working with a masculine man who's very decisive, he's an executive, he don't need the long way around the mountain. But yes, I have worked on my speech. Some of it has been academic, some of it has been work related, but I really try to think about everything that I say, especially in this space, because the internet is forever. I want it to be helpful. I'm not just here trying to have a viral moment. I know sometimes people chase that, like, what do I need to say or do to go viral? I always say I go viral on accident, but the young woman that hears this or this is forwarded to, or maybe sees this, long after, I'm a grandma or something one day, I want them to feel my heart and know that she really is trying to help. That's important to me.
Very good. Here's a
Thank
good
you.
question here from Glorious Love. Do feminine women wear weaves, etc., in your opinion? Weaves,
Oh, dear.
snuffleupagus eyebrows, raptor claws, tons and tons of makeup. I'm gonna go. She ain't gonna go. I'm gonna go there. Tons and tons of makeup. Everything fake. Getting BBLs. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk about
Oh my goodness. Okay, so y'all really want me to get canceled. Now, here's the thing.
it.
Can you be feminine and enhance your appearance with things that you buy? Yes, but again, speaking of myself, I'm a natural girl because that's just me, but that's also what my man likes and what he expects. Again, that's one of the things that being with a certain man is going to require. Now, this is a tough one because I know people are very precious about their enhancements. Now, am I saying, I get my nails done, I get facials, but am I saying never do anything to glam yourself up? Absolutely not. When I turned 50, I had a photo shoot. Some of the thumbnail, the pictures that I sent you for the artwork, the thumbnail. If I go get my makeup professionally done and I'm having professional photography, they'll put eyelashes on just to kind of make your eyes pop. I wear them for the photo and then I take them off. My concern is this when it comes to all of that stuff. Number one, it's incredibly expensive and money that we don't have to spend. None of us are, you know, Beyonce or any of these women that have a team, a budget, a staff to keep that stuff up. So we're spending money and we're at the drive-through or we're working customer service. We're glamming ourselves up for a life that we don't live. The other thing is it's hard to maintain. One of the things that's important if you want to be a wife, especially if you want a certain caliber of man, like my man will tell you, I need you to be ready right now. You need to have a quick routine that you can be presentable at all times. And when you have all this fake stuff going on, the time that you take to maintain it takes away from you being present. So it's time spent, it's money, in my opinion, wasted. And then the last thing, and probably the most important thing, ladies, our men don't like that. And they're telling us
Say
that.
that. Say that again. Say that.
Our men don't like that. And they've been telling us that. Our men like us. They want to see like our natural hair and they want to see our eyes light up and they want us to be able to touch them and not scratch them. Like our men don't like that. And I think I'm going to use a strong word, but I think it's disrespectful for your man to say, I don't like that. And you say, but I'm doing it anyway. Again, in my relationship, that's not going to fly. Maybe you have a good man that will tolerate the things that he really doesn't like. But Mr. President will tell you, if I like you, I like you. So,
There's that diplomacy again. You're calling them good men. Okay, well, I would choose a different word, but we'll move on here. So,
well, you asked me, could men that are not as masculine be good? And yes, you can have a man that my man's just going to tell you, no, we're not doing that. He said, if I want another woman's hair, I'm just going to be with that woman. So that's
that's the
how
way I
my
think. That's the way I
exactly.
think. If I wanted that long stringy hair, I would be with a woman with long stringy hair.
Exactly. And for me personally, like I'm African. So it's like there's nothing about me that thinks my hair is supposed to grow down my back. Like my hair grows like a tree. Like, and I love it. Like to be this age and to have this big bushy hair, like I love it. I love my skin. I love my hair. I love what, the way I was made. But
Uh,
there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on there. Can certainly and listen, I appreciate the psychology of why people are doing it. But again, if we're telling you that we love it, we love it. We love the natural way that it grows. And you may be African, but we are African American, and we
Absolutely. We're the
we
same.
we like that. I don't want to see your hair down your back, and especially
Yeah,
because if it's gonna come off at night. I mean, what is that? But what we can,
absolutely.
yeah,
That's in all cultures. I think it's only natural to be attracted to your own. Now, look, I understand, and especially who am I to talk? You know, my children are biracial. However, I think when an Asian man sees a beautiful Asian woman, or a black man sees a beautiful black woman, or a white man sees a beautiful white woman, I think like biologically, like you're naturally drawn to your own. Then when it comes to, creating life, I think most of us we leave our DNA because we want a part of ourselves to be here when we're gone. So I don't know. I could go really deep with that, but yeah.
yeah.
Your men don't want it. Save your
We
money,
don't.
save your time.
There was a good question here by here it is by High Vibe. What do women who wish to become more feminine do when their friend groups are filled with feral women? That is a great question.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you know what you need to do. Now, here's the thing. Am I saying you disconnect from everybody, change your number, and block them? No. But it's time for us to admit to what we already know. Even this question, your friend groups have the type of women that are not helping you become who you want to be. And I'll go 30,000 foot and then I'll come a little bit closer. Like I said, dating fun boys or fast boys or whatever, it's hurting you. Being around, we're all products of our environment. So when you're around a lot of messy, catty, gossipy, bad behaving, getting drunk or whatever it is, women, that's going to become normal to you. And again, when you meet the man of your dreams, he's going to be looking at your decision making and your judgment, and it's going to be a harder sell to tell him, oh yeah, well, those are my friends, but I don't do that. He's going to be looking at, why should I have to say something? That's one thing about masculine men. Like, they'll tell you, I don't even want to have to say it. I want you to be able to read the room and understand this is not acceptable. I don't want you hanging out with her. And
Mhm.
so before it gets to that point, why let it get to that point? If you know you have friends that are not helping you, um, some tangible things that could be helpful. You can do the slow distance. You don't have to, I'm not saying play games or ghost people, but you don't always have to be available. You don't have to respond immediately when this friend always has some type of drama or men breakup story. You can be a little bit more busy, a little bit less available. Also, there are some friends that you have to put that boundary around. If you're in a relationship, not everybody needs to know. You don't let them in to the way things are changing in your life. Maybe this is your girlfriend that you all just go get your nails done or go out and, I don't know, have Sunday brunch, but that's it. But the time that you spend with them becomes less and less, and you steer it towards what you are able to do and what you're not able to do. We're not doing girls trips, we're not staying out all night, we're not going to nice restaurants and being loud and unruly. We're not doing that. No, we can't do that, but this is what I can do. And we have to be brave enough to be, I tell my students, you have to be willing to be that salmon swimming upstream. So if that means you have to do some things alone, you do. But if you have, feral cats around you, don't expect the man of your dreams to swim over broken glass and climb up the tower wall, to get looked up and down by your girlfriends that aren't going anywhere, that want you to stay single so they can hang out with you for the next 20 years. Don't do that. Mm-mm.
Glorious Love says those kind of women can be crabs in a barrel.
Oh, yeah.
And Inside Bria's Kitchen says, I'm more feminine in my lady groups. I'm
Yeah.
always considered prissy, etc. I no longer care. I'm curious about that. Is she more feminine in lady groups than in what? I don't.
I think I
Then
understand what she's saying, and I've heard this from Bria and others, especially when women come to the finishing school and they start their journey. Lucy and I will tell them, kind of keep this one close to your chest, because if you get excited and you tell people, oh, I'm going to femininity class or I'm going to finishing school, a lot of times, whether people mean to or not, they'll have some type of dig. Well, they don't take all that, or that stuff is antiquated, or nobody does that anymore. Why I get this, this is me. I was home. Well, I did run one errand, but every day I get dressed up or I get presentable, even if I'm not leaving the house. I like to wear dresses a lot, especially when it's warm. Sometimes people ask you, why are you all dressed up? It doesn't take all that. Well, I just feel better, being the best version of myself, but I appreciate everybody can do what's best for them. You just have to be willing to just say, this is what I'm doing. And, I respect everybody else, but yeah, you'll get those comments. But I think a lot of times it's, and I wish it weren't this way, but I think sometimes it's people's unhumble way of trying to get information or ask a question. What they really want to know is, what they really want to say is, I wish I felt comfortable, in a dress, or I wish I felt confident enough to, be a little bit more elegant or presentable, but they don't know how to ask. So they just try to make you feel bad about it. Don't let them.
Mm, mm. A couple more questions here. Is it ever too old to be? Is one ever too old to be in finishing school to work on themselves?
Oh, no, it's personal development. Lucy and I talk about this. I'm 50. Lucy has shared, she's 9 years older than me, so she's 59. I think
Wait. Your co-host is 9 years older than you? Get
Yes,
out.
Lucy, you all know me and Lucy. Yeah.
Talk
We both
about colored people don't crack. Okay, go ahead.
no,
Go
Lucy
ahead.
looks amazing. Yeah, so true Golden Girls, right? To be 50 and almost 60, personal development never ends. I started this in my 30s, but for me, it's really, you're never too old. Now, I think we have to adjust our expectations for the outcomes that we're going to get. And I wouldn't be a good choice for anybody who's, a young man wanting to start a family. I'm past that point. My boys are almost up and out. One is, but yes, if you know that you can refine in some areas and you want to, you're never too old for that. I think you can be an elegant woman in your 20s, in your 50s, in your 70s. I think it never ages. And those are the skills that I love for us to work on, because age doesn't affect it.
Very good, very good. Let me thank you, Suave for
Hey,
Suave D.
Suave D.
Appreciate that. AJC with another $2. This is an incredible discussion.
No,
Absolutely,
thank
absolutely. Let's finish this off here. This particular segment here about the femininity, about your thoughts about the future. You thought it was going to get better. You thought we were at a tipping point. Explain your thoughts about we're at the tipping point and how it's going to get better, or it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Okay, so this can be a little bit heavy, but I remember Mr. President used to say things that I would think, oh, there he goes again, end of the world, or don't agree with The Handmaid's Tale, but I see how we got there. And I was like, what is he talking about, right? But when I come up out of my happy cocoon and I look at the world and I see what's happening, and people are arguing back and forth, or the panels or whatever, what's just happening around us. One of the things that he said, babe, our parents were the ones that have 3 and 4 kids.
Mm.
Our generation were the ones that have 2 to 3 kids.
Mm.
The ones after us were having 1, maybe 2 kids. How many young people are now saying, I don't want to have any children?
Mm.
How many women are carrying themselves in a way that nothing about them says wife and mother? Again, your right to do whatever you want to do. But why I think we're at a tipping point is because if nobody is prioritizing marriage and family, 50 years from now, when we're all gone, what does that mean for us? And as you get older, I know young people are kind of like, okay, old lady, that's fine. But I think it's normal and natural. Once you get older, you start thinking about life in a different way. And when you think about old societies that you read about, whether it's Roman history or the Bible or whatever it is, you say, whatever happened to those people?
Mm.
or countries that we grew up on in school that are no longer on the map because they've been absorbed by another country. I think about these things now. This is what I watch instead of Real Housewives. I love watching period pieces and documentaries, but I think about that. If nobody is prioritizing family, we're going to wake up one point and we're already at a point where we are like we haven't met the replacement rate, right? So if a couple gets married, you're supposed to have 2 children so you can replace each other. If people are having 1 or none as far as children, what does that mean? And when we look at Eastern societies, they said either Japan or Korea is now selling more adult diapers than baby diapers.
Japan,
So
yeah.
exactly. So when you think about that in these civilizations that have been around for a long time, if nobody is raising up the next generation, if nobody is passing on these traditions, any society is vulnerable. And this is what happens when, if y'all think other powers are not looking for, anybody to show a chink in the armor, that's how they show up. And before you know it, you're speaking another language and things could be very different. So, like I said, I don't like to get heavy. Those are the things that I think about. That's why I'm so passionate about the family. So I do think we're at a tipping point. I do think it will get worse before it gets better. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I think a lot of women, unfortunately, in my generation, are going to die alone. But the hope that I have, young women like our 19-year-old or Bria, young wives and mothers, there is a remnant, if you will, but there's a quiet group of women that are saying, I don't want to be that.
Mm.
And unfortunately, the loud side, the other side has been promoting destruction and demise. But I know it's not everyone. So I want to be a champion for the young women who really want to be wives and mothers. And maybe their feral friends around them are telling them, that's stupid. You got time. You don't need a man. Mm-mm. But I always tell women, if there's something in you, I always wanted to be a wife and mother. I loved being married. If there's something in you that craves that, it's not going to go away. It's only going to get stronger as you get older. So I want to move heaven and earth for those women. And I think whatever happens, maybe it's a generation of younger women seeing their older mothers or aunts or sisters having to work until they're in their 80s or living that golden girl life and buying properties together or marrying each other or marrying themselves and all this stuff that's happening and then saying, not over here. I think that's what I mean when I say it will get better, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I have hope. I really do have hope.
Very good. Only got few more minutes with
Okay.
you. I want to be respectful every time here. This is a good question by Inside Brea's Kitchen. Maggie, I know you don't have stats. In your opinion, do you think our culture, African American, are less intentional about being feminine?
Mm. Ah, yes, but it wasn't always that way. When you look at um, African American culture, and again, very respectfully, I know I'm an immigrant. I don't have the history of American culture, foundational American culture. So I want to say that I don't want to speak out of turn. But even as an outsider, if you will, looking in, when you look at Black American culture, let's say for the last couple hundred years, when we were coming out of slavery and building our own societies, a woman was a woman and a man was a man. Even when we had nothing, we had each other, right? Even when we were segregated, we had our family unit, we had our businesses, we had all of that. And then the messaging that unfortunately has infected our community is women, you can do it all by yourselves. All of the benefits that have gone to women. I'll speak as myself as a double minority. A company has an incentive to hire someone like me, pay them well. They can check off woman, they can check off Black. And then unfortunately, we start looking at that paycheck and looking at that boardroom and looking at those benefits that you might be getting from a system as better than the man who's going to love you when you're old and when that job is gone. And I think so many women had to learn the hard way. The pandemic really sat me down And Mr. President was like, "Yeah, I like you better at home. You're calmer, you're cooking more, all of these things." So I want us to learn before life humbles us, but I think we have bought into this lie that that is what success looks like. And unfortunately, that is a very masculine way of attaining a success that is not sustainable. Because please believe all of the things that you're running to acquire, they're not gonna mean anything when you're older. They're just not. So I know, we know how to be feminine. Mr. President always says, "Maggie, tell the students, you're already feminine. You just have to stop fighting it." So when we lean into our superpower, I see women kind of like shy or, giggle. I can't believe I said that. But after a while, they're like, I love it here. I just feel it's
Mhm.
so nice to just be a woman.
Mm. Very good. I want to be respectful of your time here. There's a bunch of hand claps there. Appreciate it.
Thank
Definitely some
you,
fire.
Bria.
Um, let's finish this off with your cooking show,
Okay.
your channel. Uh, how'd you get into that? Your favorite recipes? Just tell us about the
Oh
cooking.
my goodness, my struggle cooking class. So my mom is a retired home economics teacher, and so I grew up, like I said, she cooked for the family. That's just what was the example for me. I remember being 11 or 13, Maggie, if you do not cook for your children, who will cook for them? And I was like, I'm playing with Barbies. What does that even mean? But that was just part of my upbringing, right? And so, like a lot of us, as I got older, the weight problem turned into a health problem. Before you know it, you got to watch your cholesterol and your sugar and, your blood pressure. And all of that is normalized. But I started cooking. I still cook for the family, but then I would make a substitute version for myself. I went to a metabolic specialist and got tested for food sensitivity. So I have a list of foods that I can eat and then a list of foods that I really need to avoid. And so I started experimenting with those substitutes. And Mr. President actually came up with the name. So what happened was I've always been cooking, and it started on Facebook. I would just cook privately. Then I'm pretty good with presentation. And so I would post the finished product, like the plate. This is what I'm making for dinner. And so in the comments, people would say, "Oh, that looks amazing. Did you make it? How did you make it? Where did you get those ingredients, especially the substitutes?" Excuse me. And I would just go back and forth and respond in the comments. And then one day, I was inspired by lead attorney. And I was like, you know what? He's going live. Maybe I should just go live and show people what I'm doing because I'm cooking anyway. And I was just going to do something like cooking with Maggie. But he was like, that's lame. Why you're always forcing these substitutes on us? Why don't you do something like Maggie, the substitute teacher? I said, but I'm not a real teacher. He's like, I know, but everybody can relate to that. Everybody's had a substitute teacher. It's catchy. And I was like, yes, sir. Okay. So that is how the channel began. And really, I just take recipes that you would make for the family and I try to make substitute versions dairy free, gluten
Mm.
free, and sugar free. So those are the things that I have to avoid. And it's kind of turned into when I see recipes that go viral, I try to say, "Oh, can we recreate that using substitute ingredients? So can we
Mm.
make whatever that thing is with, almond flour or almond milk or, whatever." And so we have fun. It's a live stream. I've made everything. I still cook for the family. When I'm cooking for the men or the boys or, the Marines or anything, I always use the full flavor. But, it's just kind of it's a good hobby for me, it's fun. I've burned the bacon. I forget stuff. I mess up all of the time. But, it always comes together in the end, and it's just my happy place. It's one of the things that keeps me, in a feminine state of mind as well.
Very good. Very good. And where
Thank
can people follow you at? All your
Oh,
different social
yeah.
media.
So just like it says here, I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I still call it Twitter because I'm old, but X. Yeah, and I make food and femininity content. So the cooking content is usually Fridays, live stream at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then the relationship or femininity content about once a month, I'll react to Kevin Samuels, or if I do a collab like this, I'll clip it up and put it out there. But I post something every day. I have fun with it, travel stuff, all kinds of stuff too. I have fun.
Very good. Very good. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. You gave a lot of wisdom, a lot of as the young folks would say, you dropped a lot of bars. So
The first
um
time somebody said that, I was like, "Candy bars? Handlebars? Like, what is that?"
no,
I'm
you
so
definitely
lame, but thank you. Thank you so much.
so you're doing great work. I'd like to have you back. Hopefully you'll come back. Hopefully
Aw, thank
I
you.
was a great host for you. Thank you so much. Speaking of the Godfather, Young Law. Okay, okay, Young
Miss
Law.
him. Um,
Uh, Young Law. That's my man right there.
yeah,
So uh, to speaking of Kevin Samuels, Anita and I are supposed to do a show about him next week. That's going to be. We're looking forward to that.
he was an
Uh,
incredible man.
he
I
was
met
an
with
incredible
him when
man.
he was with us, and he
Oh,
was
okay,
just so
okay.
gracious. That's how the Wives Club started. I wanted to give back, and he was very, very generous, and genuine one-on-one. I miss him. Gone too soon.
Definitely gone too soon.
Yeah.
And Sunday, I'm having Dr. Ron Neal. We're going to talk about his book and what's going on with men. Tonight, we talked about femininity. We're going to talk about Black men on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that with Dr. Ron Neal. Thank you guys so much for checking in. Thank you so much, Maggie, uh, for coming on the show. How can you subscribe to me? Come over to Dr. L's podcast on YouTube. Do have other platforms, but I'm just too lazy to post on them all day. I teach. I teach for different colleges. I'm trying to finish up a book. I just don't have time to be posting
That's
all
a
over the
lot.
place. So yeah, yeah.
A
So you
lot.
can go to Dr. L's podcast. I actually have a Dr. L's podcast on YouTube as well as Dr. L's breakdown, trying to get into more politics and more what's going on with law enforcement. So that's my background. But anyway,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's
I
a
saw
little
the
bit
law
about me.
enforcement. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I got going. Actually, I think I have the banners here somewhere.
Thank you, everyone, for the kind words
Yeah,
and the
yeah. You were definitely
have a
awesome. You
very
were definitely
friendly
awesome.
chat. Oh,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. No trolls, no trolls. My mods are very very good about that. They kicked them. They kicked the trolls out, so they're doing great. All right, so you guys. We will see you guys. Chaos Rain also has a channel there. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show. Appreciate you. We will see you again. Take care. Thank you again, Maggie. Much love and
Mhm.
peace to everyone.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.